Hey, Matt Man's back with a World Coin episode. Today it's going to be all about Mexico. So I got the book out here ready to go. I have the Wikipedia page set to Mexican history so I can give a little context for these coins. And we're going to start right now with these coins from the old República Mexicana. At the turn of the century, Mexico was a republic under the rule of Porfirio Diaz. Diaz ruled from 1876 to 1911. He was basically a dictator who set himself up to support the big landowners of Mexico and to pursue good relations with the United States. He did a fairly good job of it. The economy of the country got better. The period of prosperity under Porfirio Diaz was known as the Porfirito, all at the expense of the working class. There were signs of revolution coming. Diaz was overthrown by the Mexican Revolution of 1911 and died in exile. These coins are from the end of the Republic. Now, I can't find anything that tells me when the Republic ended and when the United States of Mexico started. There's really no reference to the United States of Mexico, which the coins say after 1905. These coins are from 1900 to 1905 and actually have the República Mexicana with the standard eagle. A little different on the next ones. But this, we'll start here with the penny. See if we can get a good shot of it. It has a dent in it. I have to replace this one. There was also a 2-centavo piece made up to 1906, and then it resumed again after the Revolution. And then I got the 5-cent piece from 1902. Now, these are made of silver, actually 90.3% silver. Actually, 0.902.7 silver. And it's a nickel. Well, it's a 5-cent piece. The United States didn't have that, and the United States didn't have that much silver in their coins at the time. So I don't have a 10-centavo or a 20-centavo. The next one are these Liberdads. Libertad. This one's 1903. This has more silver in it than a Morgan dollar did at the same time. Morgan dollars were 90% silver. This is 90.27% silver and has a more average silver weight to them than the Morgan dollar. There was a transition to the coins being marked República Mexicana, and they are now marked Estados Unidos Mexicanos, United States of Mexico. So this style of 1 cent, earlier I called it a penny. It's not a penny, it's a 1 cent. Lasted from 1905 to 1949. This one had a long run and this mintage saw a lot of things happen in the Mexican story. And then they came up with their 5-cent piece, and lo and behold, the silver went away and they replaced it with nickel. The 10-cent piece still had silver, but it was only 80% now. Estados Unidos Mexicanos. Here's the 20 cent. It's basically a bigger version of the same coin. And the 50 centavos. These were the coins in circulation just before the start of the Mexican Revolution in 1910. The revolution was a revolt against the conservative church, landowners, and foreign capitalists, especially the United States. It spawned such radicals as Emiliano Zapata Salazar and Francisco Pancho Villa. During the revolution, there was counter-revolution and civil war that lasted into 1920, but a constitution was signed in 1917 that still governs Mexico to this day. Also during the revolution, each of the states would put out their own coinage. These were put out by Pancho Villa. There's like 4 pages of them. If you get a coin that's from 1910 to 1917, make sure it's not one of these special issues. Some coins that were added was this 5-centavo piece ran from 1914 through the revolution in 1935. And this 10-centavo was introduced in 1919 and only went for 3 years. There was also an issue in 1935. There weren't any 20-cent pieces that were introduced until after the revolution. This 50-centavo piece was made from 1905 through 1918 with 80% silver. But just before the end of the revolution, they got lowered to this piece that went after. Now this is a later version of the same coin, but it went to 72%. In the latter part of the revolution, Mexico and the United States had a lot of conflict. Pancho Villa raided border towns, and the German government offered Mexico a deal that if there was war with the United States, Mexico would join Germany against the United States, and they would get back Texas and New Mexico and Arizona, but cooler heads prevailed. A new peso was introduced in 1910 at the same 90.27% silver. However, it quickly got restruck into a peso of 80% silver in 1918 and 1919, right near the end of the revolution. After the revolution, the working class did get more benefit, but it was at a high price. The economy went up and down. They had political upheaval right up until the 1940s. Now they did add a few coins. When I said they didn't add a 10 or 20 cent piece during the revolution, they did right after, and they actually went back to some silver for the lower ones, but it was only 72%, just like the 50% one that they started right at the beginning of the revolution, and that kept on going. But all the other coins went down to that 72% standard. And this is the peso. So going into the 1930s, the money kept devaluing. The nickel went from being made out of 100% nickel to be made out of copper nickel. The 10-cent piece was no longer silver, it was copper nickel. The 20-centavo managed to stay the same as it was previously, all the way up until the 40s. Just like the 50-cent piece did that I had showed you before at that 72%. In 1935, though, they tried to get away with a 42% silver coin. Only lasted 1 year, and the 72% circulated right along with it, so I don't think this one was too popular. So in the 40s and early 50s, it continued to go down. The 5-cent piece got bigger, but it was made out of bronze. The 10-cent piece continued to be the old style. They came up with a 20-cent piece. Again, out of bronze. No silver there. But they came up with a 25 centavo. The first time in the 20th century that this had happened, and it actually has some silver in it, 30%. And even for a couple years, they did the 50 centavo too at 30%. For 3 years, they managed to make a 50% silver peso, but that couldn't last either, and they had to go back down to their standard 30% when they made the other ones. The period between 1940 and 1970, Mexico had high rates of economic growth and political stability, and the period is known as the Mexican Miracle. That explains why silver kept making appearances during this time, including the introduction of the 5 peso pieces. In 1947 and 1948, this peso was minted with 90% silver. 2 years later, in 1950, this 72% silver 5 peso piece was introduced, and more were introduced as the years went on. All at 72% until the last one here in 1959. So these were the coins of the 50s and 60s. There was a new penny introduced, very tiny, made out of brass. And there was a 5-cent brass piece, just a little bigger, just like the previous one, but smaller. This one here happens to be a key date. This was a bronze 10 centavo piece. This is the 20 centavo piece, much like the previous one. This one's in such nice shape. So they kept that 25 centavo piece, but no more silver, copper nickel. This was the 50-cent piece. It was made out of bronze. These are really nice looking coins. I want a better one. And this is the last piece of Mexican silver made. The 1 peso. It is 10% silver. By the mid-70s, the Mexican Miracle was coming to an end. Economic crises in 1976 and again in 1982 served to just continuously devalue the currency. The 5 centavo was reduced in size, along with every other denomination. Tiny little 10 centavo. 20 centavo, the 50 centavo, it just kept getting worse. So this was the peso in 75, reduced to that in the 80s. Look at the 5 peso, nice chunky coin. Like as big as a dime, made of brass. 10 pesos. Nice coin down to small pocket change. And it goes on. This is, I like these coins. This is a 20 peso from 81. Reduced to that. And a 50 peso. Reduced down to this. And we even have a 100 peso and a 200 peso and a 500 peso, and the biggest of them all, 1,000 pesos. That rate of devaluation is not sustainable. So in 1992, they reformed the currency. 1,000 pesos was devalued down to 1 peso, 1,000 to 1 reduction. And these are the coins after the devaluation. $5 centavo, 10 centavo, 20, 50, 1 peso, 2 pesos, 5 pesos, and 10 pesos. I hope you enjoyed my little tour through 20th century Mexico. Until the next video, Matt Man's out. If you're getting any value at all out of this, please subscribe. Hit that like button. Share it with your friends. And hit that notification bell. Thank you very much.